I have a very serious confession to make. I am too nice when I play killer in Dead by Daylight, and I realize this is really holding me back. There has been a lot of discussion recently surrounding the topic of killer anxiety, and I definitely experience that to some extent. But for me, there's another layer to it. I don't just get anxious about losing, I get anxious about winning. I often sabotage myself while trying to make sure everyone is having a good time and attempting to follow this imaginary rulebook. Don't hook the same person twice, don't kill someone too early, don't slug even if it's the right play, and so on. I have spent a decent amount of hours playing killer, but I'm mostly a survivor main, so I can empathize with the fact that it doesn't always feel great to be tunneled or to lose the game at 5 gens. But at the end of the day, the killer's job is exactly that, to kill the survivors. So if I'm simply trying to do my job as the killer and I'm not intentionally being toxic, why do I feel so guilty when I do well? So I decided it's time for a change. I picked up Plague, a killer I only played for a little bit a long time ago, and set out to see if I could finally stop apologizing for being the killer. See if I can perhaps enter my Plague villain era. I started with a pretty chill build and was just working on getting used to Plague again and using her mechanics effectively. For the first several games, I was also able to play how I usually do since it wasn't a very big challenge yet. I was still spreading hooks a lot, chases weren't too intense, and I was getting fairly easy wins. I even took down a bully squad, which is always a good time. Then I could see a difference when games started getting a little trickier. I was usually still getting downs at a decent pace, but with hooks being so spread near endgame, it started to put me in a really tough spot. I also would often come across at least one survivor in the lobby who I was really having a tough time downing, and it kept ending in me just narrowly losing several times. So I decided it was time to change up the build. I went with a full hex build to help with gen pressure, blood favor for chases, and some stealth with plaything. I also was hoping that them trying to cleanse them all would slow things down. Of course, my first match with this build, I got matched up with a pretty strong team. I struggled a bit at the start, but had decent pressure once we were at 2 and then 1 gen. I was holding a pretty strong 3 gen, but I was struggling to get any more downs before I needed to keep pressuring the gens. They also managed to cleanse all of my totems. I was genuinely sweating during this match, and it was an extremely long match, but I wanted the win so bad. I did manage to secure it, but it was a really stressful game. In this match, I also had decent pressure, but Ace was the survivor giving me some trouble, so I didn't focus on him too much at first, and did sacrifice Robin before even hooking Ace. He was pretty fun, gave me some nods when he put Chemical Trap, so I returned the favor while covered in dust, you know, just to establish dominance. I did probably focus on him a little too much, allowing them to get to 1 gen. I wouldn't say it's so much an ego chase, but I just want to practice my chases against these more skilled survivors so I can improve. So I ended up swapping in Thrill of the Hunt and Pentimento to the Hex build. I wanted to slow down their ability to cleanse the totems, and then also still apply pressure once they do. But once again, faced a team where my hexes were not going to do a whole lot for me. They were basically a head-on squad, and man, they were eating me up big time. One thing about me is, for the most part, when I'm up against these types of teams, I really do try to give it my all and also use it as an opportunity to improve and learn how to counter these situations. It can be a little bit of a fun challenge, but also can be tough and demoralizing at times too. But I do try to take it in stride and do what I can. I had a few hooks at least by endgame and then had 2 downs, but unfortunately I let my guard down for the head-on save. And then I wasn't successful in chasing anyone after that, but it was a valiant effort. And got told I was a real one in the endgame chat, which I tend to agree with, to be honest. So I was feeling a little down on myself after that, but I just have to move on. But unfortunately, I was met with another tough time. I personally don't believe I've ever seen this tile, and I'm not crazy that this is not supposed to exist, right? She could fit through this little gap, but I could not, making it pretty impossible to catch her. So naturally, she is going to use the heck out of this tile. Who wouldn't? I was pretty irritated that it was there, so I wanted to down her. I tried so hard with my Corrupt Purge. I don't know why she ultimately left the loop, so I could finally down her as soon as she did. And finally, after all that, we have a Saboteur. In hindsight, I probably should have just picked the Dwight here, but I was no longer making the most rational choices at this point. I was able to get a nice hit here and then use basement to gain some pressure. I was still struggling a bit, and this Dwight was the bane of my existence. Committing to Thalita here was a massive mistake when I could have had 2 hooks instead. I ended up not being able to down her and lost those 2 downs. I was able to get V down, but of course Dwight was hovering, and again, I should not have followed him here. I did get him down, but then I just had to play this tile to try to guard the hook. I was pretty exhausted by this point and tried my best to go for the 3K, but it just wasn't happening. I do truly believe that tile cost me this game. After those games, I was feeling really defeated. Like, once survivors get stronger, I'm just never going to stand a chance. But I took a little break and then decided I need to keep going if I'm ever going to get better, and I absolutely need to start playing more ruthlessly. I'm sticking with the Hex build because I do like it. Sure, I can maybe just go full slowdowns or something, but that's never really been my cup of tea. So for this match, let's pay close attention here to this timeline. I hook Carlos, chase and hook Leon, whilst Carlos throws himself between me and the hook. I start to chase him, but end up switching targets. I'm not able to catch Claire, so I check on the gen and manage to down Carlos. Then Claire, and then Leon, and then Jill. I go to check Shack gen, and Carlos runs out right into me. So he is my first sacrifice at 6 hooks and 2 gens remaining. I clean up the rest of the game and am hit with the I got tunneled on YouTube, and I'm a lameo and trash killer. Now, of course, I already know this, but this was a confirming moment for me. Some survivors are going to say the most outlandish things, regardless of what you do. In what world could that be considered tunneling? I would say I played this match pretty quote-unquote fairly, as I often do, but I won, right? And that's going to make some people very unhappy. I would say my skin is pretty thick, and I'm working on that. So honestly, I just had to laugh at these comments. I need to just embrace them and expect them to start happening more if I'm going to play to win and play well. So this match didn't make me want to shy away from it, it only made me want to keep trying harder. People will always react however they want, and there's not much I can do about that. So I need to just play the game. And so, that's what I did. Yanked Thalita off this totem, even though I already had another hook and down. The old me may have just left her alone. I'm just chasing whoever is in front of me, regardless of the hook states. Sacrificing people when others haven't been hooked yet, especially when they haven't been hooked because they are harder for me to catch. Allowing myself to just demolish the team if that's what ends up happening. And yes, some survivors won't be thrilled, but oftentimes they are still respectful even after a tough loss. I'm still guilty of spreading hooks probably way too much, and that is still costing me some close wins. And honestly, it's not always just about the survivors, I just view it as a personal challenge, and it's more satisfying to win that way. You still won't really catch me slugging for a 4K, and I do enjoy giving hash, so I don't intend for that to change. I'm still not quite at the point of tunneling someone out more aggressively, and I do know that sometimes it's necessary against certain teams. For now though, I think I've gotten a lot more comfortable playing to win and not worrying as much about the survivors' experiences or what they might say to me. I know there are many people who think the idea of killer anxiety sounds kind of ridiculous. Let me be clear, it's not as though I'm just a mess and anxiety-ridden the entire time I ever play killer. I've had a ton of fun playing different killers. But this is a mindset I do find myself in a lot, and I know it holds me back from really improving my killer game. And yes, it's true, in real life, I'm a pretty anxious and overly empathetic person, so of course that's going to bleed into the game. But I don't think it's a bad thing to care about other people, even inside a video game. I do like to be wholesome and showcase those moments, and play friendly and silly sometimes. I will always do that. But I also want it to be okay for me to want to sit down and dominate and improve my abilities to be a more skilled killer. And it won't always be perfect, but this experience has already helped me move towards that. I would love to know I'm not the only one who has these kinds of experiences, so please share down below if you have anything you'd like to share. You can also check out my channel and subscribe if you'd like to see more. The majority of my content has been survivor-based, but I do have a few killer videos and I'm planning to do more killer content soon as well. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.